Good morning. My name is Paul Hartford. I use he, him pronouns. I serve as one of your Board of Trustees members, and I'm happy to welcome all of you on Zoom and in the sanctuary to the Tahoma United Unitarian Universalist Congregation. Unitarian Universalists are a community of people who hold many beliefs, many origins, identities, sexualities, and genders. We uphold and celebrate the inherent dignity of every person, which means you are welcome just the way you are. Love is the power that holds us together as we gather in community to seek life's deeper meanings and to celebrate the diversity of all living things. We are all growing with and learning from one another. If you're here for the first time, we bid you a special welcome. After the service, I'll be in the sanctuary right over there by the table there to answer any questions you may have about Unitarian Universalism, our congregation, or if you have any questions about how to become involved in the community, just ask. I encourage you to explore our website, tahomauu.com. At that website, you can sign up for our weekly e-news that includes information about the important and fun events going on in congregational life and how you can participate. Speaking of wonderful news and our congregational life, the board would like to extend a special thank you to the folks responsible for our wonderful auction that we had last night. As you can see, we still have some of the wonderful decoration that was put together for that night. And I have been told that last night we raised approximately $9,222 at our auction. Additionally, Sean has asked for a moment to share some announcements about our RE program.
We have a lot going on in the month of February. First, I want to announce the game night for the family group that is on February 21st. That's a Saturday at 5 to 8 p.m. It's a potluck. Bring your favorite board games and your favorite food. Another thing, so at the end of the month, we are doing the coldest night of the year walk with the youth group. If your youth has not turned in a permission slip signed by you, they can't join. So please make sure that they do that. It also helps me make sure that I have all the supplies needed for that night, like snacks and hats and so forth. Um, Final thing is I want to mention the book drive. We have announced that before, but I want to make sure that I announce it again. The book drive for the children's library and for the teens library. We need some more books, some more up-to-date books. These are books that I use for Time for All Ages. These are books that we use to teach our children our values, including pluralism. One of the things I noticed when I went down there is, man, the only books on Judaism we have are Passover and Hanukkah related. And those are the one types of books that I don't need any more of. Um, but and only two or three books on Islam total. One of them which I bought recently. So I just want to mention that. And if you have any of those books, or you know where to get those books, or have a good book that would be suggested, we have our wish list also posted. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that. That is kind of open-ended based on how well we do in getting the library filled for our kids. Thank you.
I was also asked by Patty McPhee to remind everybody that our art gallery here, these items are for sale. If you'd like to purchase those, you can reach out to her or Sean, our admin.
Hi, my name is Janie Cox. I use she, her pronouns. Fran McLaughlin, Maria Figueroa, and I are in charge of the Third Friday Potluck, which is this coming Friday, the 20th at 11:30. We have it downstairs. Come park out back, come in the back way. The speaker is a 28-year teacher of Tai Chi, who will be telling us about this ancient art. It's a meditative form of Tai Chi, not the Kung Fu kind of Tai Chi. But you're all welcome to come. We start eating, well, when we open the doors like at 11:30, so we start eating shortly thereafter, and then the speaker's usually about 12:30. But please come join us this coming Friday. Thank you.
You are all also invited to join our social hour immediately following the service, right over here by the windows. For those of you that are newer to our community, we have red mugs for you to use if you'd like to identify yourself and be approached by people who would enjoy getting to know you. If you're someone that would benefit from a large print hymnal or a hearing assistance device, those are available at the back of the sanctuary. We want to remind everyone that our services are available through Zoom and are posted to YouTube, which means if you come up to the front, your image may appear on those venues. As we begin our service in this beautiful place called Tahoma, oh, I am sorry. I forgot here. Dave Hackett asked to have another announcement. Sorry.
Good morning, all. Last week, our minister, Margot, asked for input from our community about things we would like to do, how we might do more things together, get to know one another. And she passed out red hearts for us to write on. And then we stuck them all up on the wall over in the corner there. And when I read them, two things that stood out for me personally. One was that people just wanting to get together with somebody and talk about life, just drink coffee, talk, tell stories. But there were no names or phone numbers on those comments. I was reading all this and looking around the room and going, how do I find you? So I put a piece of paper up over there. Two topics that stood out were one, just people wanting friendly conversation and getting to know other people. And the other one was there were a few people that wanted a group to walk with. So I put that easel over there and I'm asking people who would like to get out and walk with other folks to put their name and number over there so we can find each other. And the other one is for people who would just like to hang out and talk with someone, have breakfast, lunch, drink some coffee, or talk while walking, even to write their name and number over there so we can find each other. I'm lonely, come on.
As we begin our service in this beautiful place called Tahoma by local indigenous tribes and nations, I acknowledge that we meet today on the land of the Coast Salish people, including the Puyallup tribal nation, land from which they were forcibly displaced. I honor the resiliency of indigenous people and stand with them as they continue to protect their culture, land, and water, and fight for their visibility, sovereignty, and their very existence. Lastly, please set your electronic devices to worship mode. Let us exhale deeply and settle ourselves into this holy moment of sharing and receiving. Now let us join together in worship. For our opening words, I'd like to read the end of a piece called Declaration of Interdependence. It is a much larger piece, but the end, I think, is a good place to start. We hold these truths to be self-evident. We are the cure for hatred caused by despair. We are the good morning of a bus driver who remembers our name, the tattooed man who gives up his seat on the subway. We are every door held open with a smile when we look into each other's eyes the way we behold the moon. We are the moon. We are the promise of one people, one breath, declaring to one another, I see you, I need you, I am you.
Good morning. My name is Naomi Washburn. I am your celebrant for today. I use she, her pronouns. And I'm going to invite Tarna up to light the chalice. All right. Please join me when the words come up. We light this chalice in deep respect for the mystery and holiness of life, in honor and gratitude for those who have gone before, with love and compassion for those who dwell among us, and with hope and faith for the generations to come. All right, and now rise and body your spirit for the first hymn, number 347, Gather the Spirit.
It is in your gray hymnal. Please get your hymnals out and join us. Gather the Spirit, harvest the power, our separate fires will kindle one flame. Witness the mystery of this hour, out on the light appear all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then, gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again. Gather the spirit of heart and mind, seeds for the sowing are laid in sun. Winter to spring, divine, with body and spirit united once more. Gather in peace, gather in thanks,
Before I ask my volunteer reader to come up here and read for us, I would like everyone who has food items for the food donation that we do every week to hold them up so the youth can gather them. This is just our way of getting the kids involved in social justice and being helpers in our community. Oh, wow. Okay. We got everybody? Okay. All right. You ready?
Layla's Lunchbox, a Ramadan story. We won't be needing this for a while, said Layla's mother, hanging up Layla's lunchbox. Imagine, I won't be eating lunch for a month, replied Layla with a twirl. I won't have to pack lunch for a month, said her mom with a bigger twirl. The year before, Layla had wanted to fast with her best friends, Hand and Aishra during Ramadan. But Layla's mom had insisted she was too small. Remembering that, Layla stopped twirling. She missed her friends. Moving from one continent to another had been hard. On the map in her atlas, North America and the Middle East were 10 inches apart, but in real life, she was so much farther away. She wished that she was only 10 inches away from Hand in Istrat. She knew the sign by the highway said Peachtree City. You'll love to call it home, but she didn't agree with the sign. Abu Dhabi still felt like her home. The next morning before sunrise, Layla's mom gently nudged her. Layla, she whispered. Sherry time. Layla chomped on her chocolate chip pancakes with her eyes closed. Delicious, she said. Come, let's pray now, said her mom. After Sherry, Layla snuggled back into her bed until her mom woke her up again. This time for school. As she left the house, her mom handed her a note. Layla, please give this note to Mrs. Penworth. Without her lunchbox to carry, her fingers felt extra free and swingy. She felt so light. She skipped to school. She skipped to the school bus stop. On the school bus, she read her mom's note. Dear Mrs. Penworth, this will be Layla's first time fasting for the month of Ramadan. So it is an exciting time for us. Please excuse Layla from lunch for this special month. Thanks, Mrs. Layla didn't feel so bouncy anymore. What if Mrs. Penworth didn't know about Ramadan? No one else would be fasting with her. She folded the note into a teeny tiny square and hid it in her book bag. Layla walked slowly to her class. Her throat felt dry all morning. When lunchtime arrived, she still hadn't given Miss Penworth her note. Layla, did you forget your lunch? Asked Mrs. Penworth. Layla opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. Samantha volunteered. I'll share my lunch with Layla. Miss Penworth shook her head. Thank you for the offer, Samantha, but Layla, please get a sandwich from the cafeteria. Layla followed her classmates to the cafeteria. Layla, do you want some of my cream roll? Asked Anna. Layla thought of telling Anna she was fasting, but she didn't think anyone at Sunnyvale Elementary School knew about Ramadan. No thanks, she started to say. I didn't bring my... Are you sure? Asked Anna, unwrapping the cream rolls. Layla watched the cream roll get smaller and smaller. She didn't feel so sure. Cream rolls were her favorite. She looked away. Her nose still smelled food. Layla wished she had given Miss Penworth a note. Even Asia's bologna sandwich looked tasty, and Layla didn't even like bologna. Her stomach rumbled. Suddenly, she had an idea. While everyone was busy eating, she sneaked out of the cafeteria. Her stomach stopped growling. Why, Layla, it's a pleasure to see you. What brings you here at lunchtime? asked Mrs. Carmen, the librarian. Layla felt safe among all the books. She opened her mouth, and this time her words tumbled out. Layla told Miss Carmen that Miss Penworth and her classmates didn't know she was fasting. She told her how she missed Hind and Ishrat. It felt good to tell someone all the words that had been inside her mind all morning, and especially tell her about Ramadan. Miss Carmen understood. You must feel special to fast this Ramadan, said the librarian with a smile. I do, said Layla, but why is it so hard to explain? You know what I always do when I can't get my thoughts out or when I'm shy about talking? Asked Mrs. Carman. I write my thoughts down. Layla got to work. She wrote neatly, adding extra loops to her capital L. She worked so hard that her cheeks turned pink. Dear Mrs. Penworth, I didn't forget my lunchbox today. It's Ramadan. My mom finally let me fast. This means I won't be eating lunch for a month. Sincerely, Layla. P.S. I'm Muslim. My mom, P.P.S. My mom wrote you a note too. Here it is. P.P.P.S. Here's a poem I wrote about Ramadan. Ramadan is a month Muslims celebrate, a time to count our blessings and appreciate Muslims fast before sunrise and sunset. But wait, that's not all just yet. Ramadan is a time for lots of prayer. We hope the poor people to show we care. But hopefully I will so in the day I won't be eating any food. But hopefully I will stay in a good mood. Layla hurried back to the cafeteria to join her class. Before school was out, she quietly dropped both notes onto Miss Penworth's desk. The next morning, Layla swung her fingers as she waited for the school bus. When Miss Would Miss Penworth like her poem? Layla hoped Miss Penworth wouldn't think she had forgotten her lunchbox again. She slowly climbed each steps onto the school bus. In class, Miss Penworth didn't say anything, so Layla wondered what had happened. At times like this, she wished Hang and Ishrat were there with her. They would know what to say. At lunchtime, Layla's feet felt heavy. She was sure Miss Penworth hadn't seen the notes. Everyone would think she had forgotten her lunchbox again. As she was leaving class, Miss Penworth patted Layla on the back and handed her a message. Miss Penworth had made her capital L in Layla's name extra loopy. Dear Layla, I enjoyed your lovely poem about Ramadan. I'm impressed you're fasting. What a special time for you. You and your family must be thrilled. Would you share your poem with the class today after lunch? You could go to the library this month instead of the cafeteria. Miss Carmen is excited to see you. Sincerely, Miss Penworth. P.S. Miss Carmen told me you were missing your friends. I hope you keep making new friends with our class. Layla twirled all the way to the library. She couldn't wait to share her Ramadan poem with her class. Later at she Iftar, she would celebrate this day. The end.
Mike, oh, sorry. Please join me in singing the children out. We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go. To nurture the spark of your precious life, we hold you in our love as you go. We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go. To worship the spark of your precious life, we hold you in our love as you go.
I'm Charlie Kaparik. I'm using him, he, him pronouns today. I'm your chat chaplain for today's service. Whether you have a Valentine in your life or not, you can easily find love and connection here. To that end, it takes our entire congregation to keep the lights on. We need financial support and volunteers to help with all aspects of this community. Working with other members has increased my connection, and I've made some amazing friends. The ushers will be passing baskets, and there are baskets at the front of the sanctuary for donations supporting safe parking and transportation. Those online can use the donate button. Thank you all for your love and support.
If you join me in the words of dedication, we dedicate ourselves and our offerings to the work of this congregation, weaving a tapestry of love we call community, both within and beyond these walls. Now, if you would rise in body or spirit as the choir leads us in hymn number 184.
To the only Lamb, be ye lambs unto yourselves, be your own confidence, hold to the truth within yourselves, as to the only Lamb.
So the theme for this month is embodying resilience, which is a pretty broad term and honestly is a bit of a struggle thinking about it. Every day I turn my phone on or I turn the TV on and there's some new bit of news making it even harder to be resilient as things happen, ranging from here in Pierce County to Olympia to DC, from Portland to Chicago to Minneapolis, one news bit after the other, every day. It makes getting through this difficult. And I was thinking about what to say this morning. I got a call January 12th from my boss, letting me know I was being laid off effective immediately. Organizational realignment is the fun word they use for that. They let 71 people go that day. That was rough. That was hard to get through. But Jenna and I, we put our heads together. We started making a plan. We were going to figure this out. And then on Friday, Jenna got an email from her work where she does special education and speech therapy. And turns out the Department of Education's not doing super well. And so there's some uncertainty in her field as well. And so we have questions about how that's going to look here in the future. And so we had ourselves a little bit of a panic time, because not only was I laid off, but we weren't feeling completely secure in her job situation either. And let me tell you, that's pretty scary these days. And so we had ourselves a bit of a panic. And then we asked ourselves, so what do we do? What's the worst that's could happen? How do we prepare for this? And when I really thought about it, turns out I wasn't actually all that worried that we were going to be homeless or we were going to be starving or anything like that. Some of you may know that there's a few of us here from Texas. Ben, Karna, Charles, Sean, our admin, his partner, and a few other groups as well. We all moved up from Texas together. We've known each other for, some of us, for about a decade, others longer than that, all the way back to college. But I knew in that moment, as scary as it was, one of them had a spare bedroom. We may have to get rid of a bunch of our stuff so that we can fit into a spare bedroom, but we'd have a roof over our head. And none of them were going to let us starve. So we didn't really have to worry because we had that community. And I know saying that, I'm privileged to have that community. Now, not everybody does. But as I thought about what to say up here, how does embodying resilience work? It works when we've got each other's back. It works when we have that community. It works when you know that if the world drives you down onto your knee, there's going to be somebody you know to pick you back up. And creating that kind of community is important. Having each other's back is important. I do have to admit I'm a bit of a nerd. I enjoy some video games here and there. The title for the sermon today is "We All Lift Together," which I am sure nobody in the congregation gets that reference, and that's fine. It's from a video game, and it references a piece of music from one of the video games where you meet there's the evil capitalist overlords that, you know, is oppressing all of the people. And you find a debt internment colony where everybody's, you know, wage labor, company town, all of that. But the song that plays as you meet this town and these people is a work song called "We All Lift Together." And it's about how they together keep each other standing and can push back the dark. And this song is such a pivotal part of this game that in the online community around it, on the forums and Reddit and all of those places, if you post into the game's community saying, "Hey, I need a hand with something. Hey, I can't figure something out. Hey, can somebody help me do this difficult thing?" It's not uncommon that the first response you get is absolutely, "I can help. We all lift together." It's become, the name of the game is Warframe. But it's become a mantra for people that play the game. It's honestly one of the most cooperative games I've any, and most multiplayer video games have a bit of a reputation for being kind of toxic. But Warframe, "We All Lift Together," has become a bit of a mantra. It's about helping each other out when we need it. Because none of us can stand on our own all of the time. But that's a message we've all heard before, I think. That's fairly common in places like that, to hear talk about the community, talk about helping each other, and you need to get active, and you need to be part of the community, and find the community gardens around you and engage in those kinds of activities. That's a message we regularly hear, how we need to be supportive of each other. But there's a part of that message that I think we sometimes gloss over, a part of that we sometimes miss. The Unitarian principle that we referenced earlier is interdependence. That means that sometimes we need people too. And for some of us, that's hard to admit. In that moment, when I thought about the group of friends that I had, when I thought about how I'm sure one of them had a spare room and they'd all make sure I didn't starve, what scared me more was asking. What scared me more was being vulnerable, was admitting I needed help. Too often here in America, we have this press to be individuals, to stand on our own, to be self-sufficient, to not need anyone else. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. The funny thing about that saying is it was originally said as an impossibility. You cannot, while standing on your own 2 feet, reach down, grab your bootstraps, and pull yourself off the floor. It's not possible. So, in addition to being part of those communities and developing those networks to help each other, we need also be willing to sometimes take as much as we give, right? People say, oh, you need to give as much as you take, but in some ways, you need to be ready to take as much as you give. I listened to a TED Talk at one point that talked about trust and really creating trust between two people. And one of the things that they said that can impair that kind of trust is not communicating when you need help. How many of us have not spoken to somebody for a few weeks, months, something like that? You ask them how they're doing, and they're like, oh, I'm doing fine right now, but man, it had been a rough month. You do not, I was barely holding it together, but I'm doing good now. And your first reaction is, why didn't you let me know you needed help? I'd have been there for you. Being able to ask for the help is part of trust. Knowing that somebody has your back, knowing that you have their back, that mutual back and forth is where community really starts. There's a conversation that some of my friends have had, and we look at the current political climate, and we look at the differences between the left and the right, and we look at the separation that people have had and the lack of empathy and the lack of community, and we joke, you know, when do we think the problem started? What was the core thing that let us get to where we were? Now, the pessimists in the group will point all the way back to the invention of agriculture. I don't throw that blame quite that far back. I jokingly say that I think the part that led to where we are in America right now was when America started building cities that prioritized individual vehicles. When you didn't have a community grocery store, when you couldn't walk down the street and go to a restaurant and run into 3 of your neighbors that you knew. I've got 20 houses on my block. I know one of my neighbors. And he doesn't even live there. He's been trying to fix up the burnt out shell of that house for 5 years. I only know him because mail delivers his packages to us because nobody thinks anybody lives in that house. But we don't have that kind of community. I hear stories. I've never seen it, but I hear the old adage that apparently at some point in our history, it was common and acceptable and okay to ask your neighbor for some sugar. I've never lived that. The last time I remember really knowing my neighbors was when I was in college. And I run into classmates in the cafeteria. The last time I ran into friends at a restaurant randomly was down in Austin nearly a decade ago. My family came and visited me. We decided to go to a nice restaurant to celebrate. And it just so happened that other folks, Sean was part of that crew, had decided to go have a fancy dinner too. And we randomly ran into each other. And that was such a surprise. But that kind of community doesn't happen accidentally anymore. We don't run into our neighbors casually anymore. We don't have that back and forth anymore. And that's what it's going to take to get us through what's going on now. In part of the civil rights movement, as they needed to protest every day, every weekend, as the struggle went on for years, a concept developed, even amongst the activists, even amongst the people that were on the streets, holding the signs, yelling and screaming. There was a concept that developed about that kind of community, about how hard that was. We needed the community. We needed to have each other's back. But part of that also, back to admitting when we need help, rest as resistance. Because it was too hard to fight every day. You needed to take it in shifts. You needed to be able to say when you needed to rest, when you needed to pause, when you needed to recharge. It needed to be okay for it to be somebody else's turn to fight. The system makes us hard. Rest keeps us tender. There is power in our collective rest and care. In 1988, Audre Lorde wrote in A Burst of Light, "Caring for myself is not self-indulgence. It is self-preservation. And that is an act of political warfare." So as we talk about embodying resilience, and as we talk about how we get through what's happening now, how depressing the news is every day, we need to have each other's back. We need to do all of the community work. Absolutely get involved in neighborhood gardens. Absolutely figure out what you can do to help those around you. But also know that your community, this community, has your back. Now, David Hackett here, wonderful person. When he came up to me this morning asking if he could give an announcement, I already knew what he was going to say. In fact, I was already planning on including him today, because I was here counting money last week when we put all those notes, all the hearts up that he'd talked about. I saw him recognize that there was a need. I saw him recognize how easily he could help somebody that needed it. And he came over here and he started tapping on the microphone, but all the sound system was already off. But he was excited. He was happy. He was desperate to help the people that he could. If that was just having a conversation with somebody, he could do that. And I know David Hackett. I know that this summer, if I go, hey, Dave, things are getting a little bit tight. You think maybe I could have some of the plums from the tree? I absolutely know. He'd go into his garage, he'd pull out that blue tarp, and he'd shake that tree dry for me. And there are people here that do that, that can help you. You just got to let us know. You got to be willing. You got to be vulnerable. And that's how we build the kind of community that is going to help us get through this. So as we set an intention, that intention needs to be twofold. We need to be willing to be the strong parts of the protest. We need to be willing to help each other and stand up against what's happening. But we also need to be willing to lean on a shoulder when we need to, because that is what the community is about.
Please join us with your gray hymnals. Can you? The longest march. 157. March, singly none, and by union what we will can be accomplished still. Drops of water turn a mill, singly none, singly none. It's okay. It's okay. We said only one time.
Two people can keep each other sane, can give support, conviction, love, massage, hope. Three people are a delegation, a cell, a wedge. With four, you can play games and start a collective. With six, you can rent a whole house, have a pie with no seconds, and make your own music. 13 makes a circle, 100 fills a hall, 1,000 you have solidarity and your own newsletter, 10,000 a community and your own papers, 100,000 a network of communities, and 1,000,000 our own world. It goes one at a time. It starts when you care to act. It starts when you do it again after they say no. It starts when you say we, and you know who you mean, and each day you mean one more.
All right. And I just want to say, as someone who grew up watching A Bug's Life and Ants, this message of like, we could do anything together, like, it's very powerful. And like, I personally understand reluctance and being a little afraid. I have been taken advantage of before by takers, and everything is a balance. And we can find that balance in community between giving and taking and being there for each other. And part of one thing that I'm definitely a hypocrite about is telling people that, like, in order to deepen a relationship with someone, you have to offer them the opportunity to be there for you. And that can be so hard, especially in America, where everything is like, you got to be an individual, you got to be, an island on your own and do everything yourself and never depend on anyone. But that's not how life works, and that's not how relationships work. And hopefully we can do better than that. So I have Time to extinguish the chalice, sorry. He is. Yeah. Flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Good job, everybody. All right, now rise for the closing blessing song.
We don't have lyrics, just hum along if you don't know it, okay? It's a sing-along today. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. Everyone, I have an announcement. If I can get your attention really fast before you converge on the coffee and snacks. We have 3 auction items that are located on the cubby in the hallway. If you're interested, please take a look at them, and if you would like to bid on them, find me, find Sheila, find Debbie. If you don't know who we are, ask. Somebody will point you our way. Thank you.